I've got a lot of you today. So I want your name, how long you've been in business, how many listings did you take in the last 12 months? Charter. He doesn't know his numbers.
My name?
Mm-hmm.
Charlie.
How many
Great.
years in business?
33, I think.
And how many listings did you take last year?
47.
You did 47? Or we?
We did.
How many did you take last year? See, he doesn't know his
I
numbers.
don't even know. I don't differentiate between the ones I go with you guys.
Oh, that's true because you're on every listing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'll give it that to him.
I'd have to remember.
All right, Liz.
Liz Myers, I've been in it since 2004. I started with commercial, which is really cool,
Interesting.
and I really enjoy residential much more.
And how many listings last year?
3.
Nice.
James Lasco, 5 years as of next month. 4.
Jennifer Barnes, 30 days. No listings yet.
No, last year.
Giannis, 2 years in last calendar year or last 12 months?
Either.
Like 11 or 12.
Well, but I have to go after him. Sierra Weiler, like 3.5 months and 0. And I'm gonna jump up with
You
it.
didn't have it last year.
Right.
Oh, last year. I thought you were just saying since you started. Sorry.
Last year, you didn't have any listings. You're good.
No.
All right.
But I'm good.
I'm giving all of you that didn't have it last year a pass.
Sasha, 1 year and no listings.
Chris, I've been here for 8 months. 1 listing last year.
Amy Beck, and I've been here for 3.5 months, and I don't have last year, and I have 0 listings.
Monica, and I've been with the 2 months, so no listings.
Vicki Berry, I've been licensed since 2019. I had 1 listing last year.
Perfect.
Get my license.
And I'm Cindy. 4 years, and last year I had 28 listings.
Good for you.
So let's talk about how to win the listing. You guys want to know how to win the listing? You guys want to be listing agents?
Yes. I mean,
Why? Why do you want to be a listing agent?
Because you can control your time better if you're a listing agent than if you're a buyer's agent.
You control your time better. What else?
There's just a lot of buyers and not enough houses out there. So.
That would be my reason, right? It's just easier. You get paid more often. Do you know how many buyers, do you know how many, like, if you've got 12 offers in on a house, how many agents get paid?
1.
Actually, 2.
Well,
The
yeah.
listing agent always gets paid.
Yeah, of course.
And the winning.
And there's a winner. Like, I think I'm a winner, but not all of the listing agents would find me the winner, and so I just want to be the winner every single weekend, and if I'm the listing agent, I get to win every single weekend. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to win the listings so you can be winners every single weekend. When does a listing, Giannis, when does your listing presentation start?
When I do the listing walkthrough, and then
When does your listing, like,
process.
process start?
Sure. Starts with either a conversation on the phone, usually a conversation on the phone. Then the whole key is to get to the front door. Sure, you say that you want to look at their house, but you can pretty much know what the value is. You do want to look at the condition, but you want to get in front of your future client.
Exactly. So your listing, how to win the listing starts before you ever do your presentation.
First contact.
Yeah, you've got to have a first contact. So let's talk about your first contact. Now, any of you that were in Charlie's contracts class, he talked about something at the end when I walked in, and he was talking about how to work with buyers. One of the big keys with working with buyers is trust. Do you know the number one thing, according to the National Association of Realtors, that sellers look for when they're looking for an agent, the most important thing? Trust. Isn't that crazy? Buyers want trustworthy people, sellers want trustworthy people on the largest transaction or asset in their life. So you're trying to gain trust. right from the very, very first contact. I'm gonna pick on Giannis today because I know that he's pretty squared away. Like, he gets listings because he knows what he's doing, right? So Giannis, when you call somebody, do you pitch how good you are?
No.
Hold on, what are your stats? You've got pretty good stats, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah, you
they're
sold
okay.
several $1 million last year.
Sure.
You work with both buyers and sellers successfully.
Right.
He gets contingent offers bought. I guarantee he doesn't call him up and say, "Hi, you need to sell your house. You need to find a house before you can sell your house. I can get a contingent offer bought for you." Guaranteed that has never come out of his mouth. What do you talk about with them?
Well, I mean, first,
Client. Talk about the client, right?
yeah, we talk about what their needs are.
Like, let's do the who, what, why, what, how, when. What, those things, remember? So who?
What are their real estate related plans? What are they looking to do? What's
Yeah.
important to them?
What's important to them? So you're gonna go with who? Who's wanting to move? Are they both wanting to move? Is one person wanting to move, the other one isn't? Like, that's a different issue. We need to know the who's we're working with. So you want to really understand who is involved in the decision. Are there kids involved in the decision? Is there like a mom or a dad that they're taking care of that are going to be involved in this process? We want to know all the players. So you get that down, because who has that listing? Dawn has a listing right now where there's an elderly parent living in the lower end of the house, and that's a condition for showing of the house. Now, if I just come into that house, right, they know they've got mom living downstairs. They know mom can't be taken out of downstairs. So I come in, I don't fully understand everything about this because I don't care. I just want to tell them how good I am. And I come in and I say, you know what? I can sell this house for top dollar. I know the other agent said they could sell it for 1.5 million. I can sell it for 1.7 million. I can do that because I have the best marketing. I have the best website. I have the best, and we do high-level open houses where we have 85 people come into every single one of our open houses. Probably not getting the job. We want to understand the who's and what's going on there. This one's huge. This is probably your biggest one. Why? We went on a listing appointment, Giannis and I did it a couple weeks ago. And you know what we did? We just sat there and listened. That's all we did. We just listened. And every once in a while, they would stop talking. So we'd ask them another question, and then we'd listen. And the big one there was why. Why? And I'm going to tell you the whole story. Why, where, and how. Why are you moving? We didn't tell them how much their house was worth. He brought me along because it was out in Shelton and I have a lot of experience in the Mason County area. I didn't tell them that. We just asked them, why are you moving? And they said, well, we're just kind of done with here. We're done with Washington. We're done with Mason County. We wanted to put in a Mead brewery, but with all the regulations and with the way the city acts, we can't do that here. We want to move to Massachusetts. Maine.
Yeah.
Guys, I know nothing about Maine. Usually I can pick up on something where I can establish some rapport. I know nothing about Maine except for it's in the upper corner of the other side of the United States. And I think it has trees.
Lobster.
And lobster. Okay, so you're moving to Maine. Guys, that's not a quick move. That is a major move. So where are you moving? Maine. How are you moving to Maine? Tell me a little bit more about Maine. What's important to you about Maine? You know, so we just started talking about Maine. Now, then we inserted something that we're going to come up with in a minute. And it because of listening. So we had, at that point, we had 4 sets of ears there, or 4 ears, 2 sets. But all 4 of our ears were actively engaged. Our mouth was not engaged. If your mouth is engaged, you're gonna lose the listing. So who, what, where, why, how, and then when. When's big. So the how on these guys was contingent. They didn't have all the money. And I asked them that. I said, oh, this is great. I said, oh, so are you guys gonna need to sell this house in order to buy another house? They had already told us that their mortgage lender gave them this crazy approval price that there was no way they were gonna buy something in that price range. Well, do you need to sell this house to get the other house? Yeah, we have to sell this house before we get the other house. So you're gonna need to be contingent. Yeah. Okay, now I'm all about referrals too, so I asked them, do you have an agent on the other end? This is kind of a side note. They didn't, so hopefully Giannis is gonna be able to do a referral there and get a little piece of that side too. So I'm sitting there in my head and I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, we've got these people. Now mind you, we're third. We are the third agents being interviewed. And so we're not a for sure thing. We are totally not a for sure thing. The other 2 agents, they actually knew.
They what?
They knew the other 2 agents. One of them was a friend. This is who we're going up against. So who, what, where, why, how, when. When, as soon as possible. We want out of this state. What we're hoping to do is put this house on the market, and then while this house goes on the market, we want to go back there and find a house. I think I have all their problems right now. Like, all I'm trying to do is just sort out all of the road bumps. When I was a solo agent, after the first year, my husband and I sat down and we decided we need to figure out all the reasons why people can't sell. And we need to fix those reasons. Because people have the same reasons they can't sell. And so oftentimes, it might be something like they don't have the furniture. Like they need to move all their furniture out, they don't have any furniture to stage with. Staging was one that we came across a lot, with empty houses or whatever. So you know what we did, is we got staging furniture. Do you know what Great Homes has? Like 4 times the amount of staging furniture I did. So you find where their objections are, and you're gonna do that by asking these questions. Now, after you've asked and asked and asked, then what are you? You're a problem solver. It's really all we do, because we just solve problems all day long, every single day. And once you get like 10 listings on your thing, you're gonna have more problems than you've ever even dreamed of having. We want to get as many problems onto the table. What are their touch points? So, with these guys, I know that they're going to be contingent on a house across the country. They're going to have like a limited time to find this house and go contingent on it. I'm not worried about selling that house. I'm worried about getting the listing. So I looked straight at him and I said, well, you know what we do for our clients that are going contingent? We have an entire packet that we put together that's going to show how we highlight your house and how marketable your house is. We give the statistics for the area, how many days on market, and everything we can about your house. So it's a nice little package so that your agent on the other end has the ammunition to get you a contingent offer bought. She perked up and she said, well, the other 2 agents didn't say anything about that. I've never heard of that. Do you know why? Because I made it up.
It's easy to do.
That's the thing, is it's easy to do. It's a tool. Have you guys ever tried to build a house? Probably not. What have you tried to build? Let's build something. What are we going to build? IKEA, we're going to build an IKEA desk. What does IKEA include with every single one of their packages?
Wrench.
A wrench. What else?
Instructions.
Instructions. What else?
parts.
Parts, all the
Yeah,
parts,
no.
huh?
I don't know,
Well, they usually have a wrench and they usually have like one of those little,
Allen wrenches.
Allen wrenches, yeah. They usually have a couple tools. They make sure that the tools that you need are there. We need to make sure that the tools that our seller needs are there. We've got the tools. Now, we don't have our listing presentation up here, but Charlie has a listing presentation we do for the clients. And the listing presentation has a whole bunch of stuff we do for the clients. It has the marketing. Is that a tool? It is, and you better know what your marketing is. What kind of marketing do you do? Do you do social media? Do you do social media on 16 different platforms? Because if you don't tell them that you do.
16 different platforms?
I'm sure there's out there if you go like deep enough. I don't know how effective 16 platforms would be, but don't say I do social media marketing on 16 different platforms, because then they're going to say 16 and you're going to have to name them.
Right.
So you're going to want to have evidence of this stuff. If you say we do a ton of social media marketing, and then they go to your Facebook page and they don't see anything except for the stupid current, whatever, stay current articles that auto-populate into there, but they don't see any evidence of you, they don't see any evidence that you buy, sell, or show homes, they're not going to be impressed. What other kind of marketing do you do? Do you do flyers for the house? That can just be flyers. Do you know what you do every time you put a listing? We have for those of you who haven't done a listing yet, we have a separate site. It's KWLS, Keller Williams Listing System, I think. And when we put it in there, it goes out to Zillow. It also goes out to
Truly,
some
really-
crazy number. I don't know. It's somewhere between 450 and 1,200 different websites.
it's a ton.
So websites we've never even heard of. And that's important. I sold a house in Mason County to a guy, not my client, I was listing agent, to a guy sitting in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean on a submarine. He was being transferred to Bremerton Naval Base. He put in the Google search, homes near Bremerton, and some random website that neither he nor I had ever heard of popped up to the top and had my listing on it. He reached out to an agent in Port Orchard who did a video walkthrough, and he bought it. So when you have things like that, you can let them know that it is important that we get it out to as many websites as possible. So that's your marketing. You need to know your tools.
So Cindy, I brought that thing
Oh,
up.
perfect.
I can't remember, that's the only reason I printed this out. 350 search engines, 76,000 websites.
Yeah.
And then I didn't create this, I copied it from Keller Williams.
I mean, it's a crazy amount of websites. If you do staging and they're concerned about their furniture, but they're going to be moving out, or they're concerned because they're moving and they're taking all the furniture and it's going to be an empty house, know if you have staging. If you're part of this team, you do. If you're not part of this team, you should buy your own staging or rent it. Like at the very end, Tony and I were renting our living room furniture from Rent-A-Center because they haul it in and haul it out, and that was worth the money to me. No more hauling couches. Photography. Photography is important. We even talked to these guys about it. I think we'd already won the listing by then. But we talked about how we would have our professional photographer come out. Do you guys get that? Professional? Do you think in this market we need professional photography to sell a house?
No, you needed to get the next listing.
Exactly. I can take, does anybody have, who's got an old phone in here?
It's old in
Do you
comparison.
have an old one?
Yeah.
I can take photos with that and sell it on today's market. They can even be blurred and it's gonna sell. But when my client puts those photos up for their friends to see on social media, you can guarantee I'm not gonna be the person their friends are calling. We make a ridiculous amount of money for every single house we sell. They deserve professional photographs. So you've got photography. Are you going to do drone? You need to know this in your head. Not every property is worth a drone photograph. James, you just sold a house, a townhouse.
Yes.
What would a drone photograph look like of that?
A roof.
Yes, a roof.
surrounded by a whole lot of
A
other
whole
roofs.
bunch of other roofs.
And then you
Yeah.
can see just how absolutely tiny this place is.
Yeah.
I don't want a drone photograph on that one. Like, that's a waste of my money.
Photos, if you want to accentuate the positive.
And how much money did that one sell for?
50 over list, 475
$475, right?
without.
Different price point. Giannis has one coming on market this week at $100,000 with drone photographs. Do you know why? Because it's a piece of property. And the drone photographs are going to be more important for it than shooting a photo like this. So it's not about price point, it's about what makes sense for that property. Property prep. What kind of property prep are you going to give to your clients? Now when
Pressure
I,
washing.
huh?
Pressure washing, that's my favorite. I've got a
Exactly.
fixation on that.
He loves pressure washing.
I can't stand going into a listing with a dirty driveway and dirty walkway. So you're gonna sell a
And
car,
dents.
wash it.
Yeah. And the difference between, so he just had a listing over in Egret. And I saw it after the first pressure wash, but not before the final pressure wash. And the railing coming into the house was white.
Instead of green.
Well, no, when I first saw it though, it was still grungy. Like it had been
Grungy.
pressure washed once, but it wasn't all like perfect. And so you could still see some grunge, but it had been pressure washed already, so I can only imagine. After the second pressure washing, it was beautiful. Now, if it had been totally green like it was before the first pressure washing, you could probably knock $50,000 off the price. Isn't that crazy? $50,000 just for a little bit of dirt? But that's how it is. We need people to fall in love with our properties. And as a solo agent, I have a landscaper, the guy that's buying my house. And he did every single one of our listings that needed landscaping. And if all that was just tossing bark into the front, that's fine because it gave that fresh bark smell and people loved it. So decide what you can do for your clients. Decide what your tools are.
And what they need.
And what they need, yes. Now, if it's a property, say up in like Cushman, where everything's kind of, you don't really know a whole lot of landscaping up there because it's very natural, putting ground bark there would look odd and out of place. A small townhouse in a condominium place may not need any pressure washing, but a bag or two of ground bark might really freshen that tiny little bed that's sitting right in front of the house. So what are you going to do that first impression? That's what we're looking for, is first impression. If you know that walking up to the house and you've got it in your tool belt and you're the only one that says, and you know what, your front driveway out here, we have a pressure washer that's going to come in and take care of that. They know they have moss growing in their driveway. None of the other agents offer that, I guarantee it. Videos. Are you going to do a walkthrough video? It's a pricey thing to offer. On something like a Clay Elum house, I'd want to, which is a $1.8 million listing, I would want a walkthrough video. That's going to be important. And at that level, the client is going to expect that. Virtual tours, signage. You might get somebody who's a little old school and they say, well, are you going to keep flyers in our box outside? Because, you know, 18 years ago we sold a house and those flyers, they kept running out. The realtor was too lazy to make more copies and put them in there. Have you guys ever heard of a perma-flyer? So here's another tool for your tool
Or
belt.
quickly.
Quickly, yeah, if you can get them to go for quickly. So I'll talk about that in a second.
We've got that too.
Yeah. So a perma-flyer is something that can be ordered. It's $20, and it comes out of Auburn. And what it is, it's a hard flyer that you put onto the post, and it's like plastic or whatever. And you have the photos on it and a description. And if anybody who's walking up to it, they all have these, and they can take a photo, and now they have the flyer.
Does
That
have
way-
like a QR code?
Huh?
Does that have like a QR?
You can put one on it. You get to design it any way you want to. So you can put a QR code on it. You can put a Quickly on it. And so Quickly is something that's offered by Brevity. So for those people on the team, we have Quickly codes. It's a text message So it says text 59559, text Great Homes to 59559, and then it allows them to find out more about this house.
It gives them an electronic flyer.
Yeah. And so they can find out more about the house. At the same time, it alerts the agent that somebody's looking at their house. And the agent can call them back and say, hey, I just got an update saying that you were interested in the house. Is there any questions I can answer for you? So that's another way.
And that way you capture their phone number.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
That's the advantage of that.
Yeah. But if they're insistent upon a flyer, and you will get those clients, go for the perma flyer. That is going to save you so many trips out there when the kids go out and like put the flyers all over the neighborhood and yeah. So know your tools. Know everything that's available to you. Signage. What kind of signage are you doing? So if you have a Brivity, whether you're with the team or just have Brivity, Quickly is going to be your best friend. You get Quickly signs made that you can stick in the yard, and that's where you're going to get your leads from. Open houses. Again, you want to listen to the people before you offer the open houses. This particular house that Giannis and I went to, they operate I'm going to call it an apothecary out of their, is that right? Would that be an apothecary? They operate an apothecary out of their home. And so their whole downstairs is nothing but tinctures and herbs and all sorts of stuff that they mix together for things to send all over the country. They also have a lot of very unique items in their home, and they would not want people going through their home. So it's not something we offered to them. So be able to read them. We didn't have to go into how great our open houses were going to be. We just needed to let them know we were going to help them with that huge move, because that was their stumbling block. Now, if it looks like a house that would be worthy of an open house, and you think, you know what, an open house would rock here, try to get their permission to do an open house. Ask how that would work. If it seems like it's worth it, and you know it's going to be a one weekend like wonder, except for they've got 5 dogs, 2 kids, and a rabbit, it might be worth it to get a place out in Ocean Shores and send them to Ocean Shores for the weekend. So know what tools you have and what tools you're willing to do. Now, if you haven't sold a listing, do not be sending any of your clients to Ocean Shores. That's coming out of your pocket. This is stuff we do once we've done some listings and we've got some money in our pocket. Okay, brochures. What brochures do you make for an open house or for your clients? And how good do they look? Whatever you're going to be taking with you to the listing appointment is going to be a sample, even if it's not a brochure for their house. You don't want a sample brochure, but that's telling the client what level of brochures you put out. If your listing presentation, anything you hand to them is sloppy and not done well, it's a reflection on what the brochures are you're going to be putting out too. And if they have if they have more than one person they're looking at, you want to make sure your listing presentation is done well. Because they're going to be looking at those, oh, I remember this guy, and so when they're coming back over it afterwards and revisiting, it's better to leave nothing than to leave something that's not done well. Okay, magazine. If you're going to be in a magazine, I think that'd be more for a luxury listing.
These days, we don't have time to get the magazine. And
Yeah, I was gonna
report,
say.
so,
Yeah.
you know.
The only thing you would do if you were going to be a luxury agent, and at this point you've already gotten a whole bunch of listings, nobody starts out as a luxury agent, you may want to take, when you have a few luxury listings, you may want to pay for magazine advertising just to get the magazines to put into your listing presentations to give to them. Do you send out 100 postcards to the neighborhood? Don't do it if it's a one and done. So if I'm going to take a listing over here in Lacey, which is not where I work out of usually, I'm very much Mason County, the last thing I'm going to do is a one and done postcard mailing. Because you know what people do with postcards? They toss them in the garbage. Now, if that's where I live, that's where I farm, I'm gonna send 3 postcards. I'm gonna send just listed, pending, and just sold. And I'm gonna knock on the door and I'm gonna call them. And I'm gonna invite them to my open house. Like, I'm gonna be so on them that by the time they get that 3rd postcard, they're gonna know who it was before they even read it. That's the way you do postcard mailings. Postcard mailings do not sell houses. So don't offer to do direct mail marketing unless you're gonna do direct mail marketing because it's your farm and you're known or you wanna be known. But that's definitely, that can be another way you can just burn money. Social media. How are you going to market them on social media? What channels do you guys use? If you aren't using LinkedIn and Twitter, because there's not a lot of real estate going on there, there's different things for real estate going on there, but not necessarily marketing of listings. Don't tell them I use Twitter and LinkedIn. If you're using Instagram and Facebook, be good with that. We use Instagram and Facebook. Instagram, we know, targets the under 40 crowd, and we know that Facebook targets the over 40 crowd, though everybody uses both. But we want to make sure that we understand what it is we're doing and how we're using it. And then websites. If you've got a great website, don't be afraid to show it to them. And show them how your website works. So for instance, with Great Homes Team, if somebody wants to look at their house, they're going to have to register in order to see the house. And so when you tell them that, you can say, and even people coming to our website to view your home, we're going to have them register. It's really important for us that we follow up with every single person who wants to see your home. So you need to know your tools. Now these are just samples of the tools that I'm getting straight off of this, but think about it. Think about what is it that would set me apart from everybody else? What can I do that other people can't do? Because you know what? Everybody can come in and put their house in the MLS and they can stick a sign in the yard. That's it. Everybody can write cute little marketing remarks. Maybe not everybody. There's some kind of poor marketing remarks out there sometimes. But everybody can write something in the marketing space. What is it that you're going to do that the other 3 agents that they interviewed didn't do? And that all comes down to the listening. So I'm going to come back to the one that Giannis and I went on. The other agents didn't listen. They told. The first agent they got out of their circle of friends, which is a very close-knit circle. Like you usually don't do business outside of this circle. That agent came out, and right off the top, she told them she could get them $350,000 for their home. I said, I can get you $350,000 for your home too. Probably an extra $150,000 to go with it. I thought that was low, she said. So the first agent told them right off the bat what she could get for their home without stepping foot in the home. She'd never been there. She didn't know the area. She just blurted that out. She didn't even look at Redfin or Zillow. Like they were in the high 4s, low 5s. The first agent said, you know, all of this stuff in here. Now, so the house we were in was, they're witches. And the entire house is bedecked. So we walked in over a Ouija board. That was the front door mat. We came in, it is filled with skulls and apothecary stuff and all sorts of stuff. The first agent is out of that circle. You know what she told him? Oh, and you're definitely going to have to get rid of all of this stuff before we can put it on market. And so she told me that, right? So what do I know as soon as she tells me that? Because I'm listening. I'm not talking. She tells me that, and I go, she said that? Okay, now I'm not going to have that house go on market with all that stuff in there. But she said that? This has nothing to do with this. I said, it's not this stuff. I go, honestly, we just need to be have less personal stuff. So it wouldn't matter if it was this or if it was some old lady's house that had flowers all over it. We just need to have as little stuff in your home as possible so that the buyers can see what their stuff can imagine what their stuff would look like. And you know what? I'm really, really good at what I do. So I happen to know you're moving. So I happen to know you're gonna have to pack all this stuff up anyway. So we could just do it ahead of time. That was a whole lot more gentle for her to hear. And they have no problem now packing up all their stuff. But when the first agent walked in and said, oh my God, you're gonna have to get rid of all this stuff because people are gonna be so offended by this. And I told her, I go, it's not that people are gonna be offended by it. It's that they're gonna be distracted by it. And we want them to see the house, and we don't want them to like see one of your items because I can tell you've got some stuff in here that is worth some money. The last thing we want to do is have them get fixated on an item and demand that it stay with the house. Okay, so you can get past all of the stuff thing and be gentle about it. But I wouldn't have known to do that if I hadn't been listening. Right? So I have to listen, and they'll tell you everything about the last two people that they interviewed. You just have to listen. What we're trying to do the entire time is develop trust. Who do you trust?
Sure.
Nobody.
You trust Charlie. Why do you trust Charlie?
Because he's always been honest and set up straight up, so
He's been honest, he's been straight up. What else about Charlie?
that's what he says.
He does what he says, absolutely.
What else about him, Charlie?
Do you know why you trust Charlie? You trust Charlie because of how Charlie's integrity is. So you know what Charlie told me? I come on as productivity coach. And my job is to do whatever, to produce whatever they want me to produce, right? Get the team to produce whatever it is they want to have produced. So I said, Charlie, what are the numbers you want to hit? Like, is it unit numbers? Is it dollar amount? Like, what is it you're trying to hit? He goes, I don't know. I mean, really, I just want to make a difference in 10 people's lives. Okay, that's a big paradigm shift, right? That's not, I don't care about how many units, I don't care how many numbers. What I care about is I'm going to make sure that whatever Giannis wants to accomplish this year for his personal goals happens, because that's what Charlie wants. It's not that he wants Giannis to produce 85 homes this year, although it wouldn't be bad. But he wants to make sure that if Giannis wants to buy a 36-foot Chris Craft wooden boat so he can go out and sand it every single afternoon for stress relief, that he has the opportunity to do that. That's what Charlie cares about. That's why you trust Charlie. Because Charlie doesn't look at you from how many units you can produce. He looks at you because he cares about what you want to accomplish. Same thing here. I don't want the client to think. I have one client that drives me crazy because every time he talks about selling his house, he says, yeah, and I know you're going to make a lot of money in this too. Don't worry, if we can get more money, you'll make more money too. Dude, it is not about the money. I do a lot of low-end listings. I want to make sure my client gets what they want. And so as long as they get that, that's when you develop trust. And who are we focusing on? The client. Yeah, we were just talking about that. As long as you make it about me, and that means you, not me. As long as it's about me, I care what you're saying. And the more you talk about me, the more I like you. It's human. So we don't have to give a listing presentation. We need to get the listing presentation, right? It'd be nice, there's all sorts of scripts out there. I could have come in here and just handed you guys scripts. 25 different ways to walk into a listing presentation and say a script. Unless you pick the wrong script that morning, then you're in trouble because you don't know your who, why, where, how, or when. I don't have a listing. Charlie, I don't think you have a listing script.
No, because then it makes you talk more, just list of questions, 5 questions.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no magic script for this. This is all about listening. So at the end of, sometimes I do a walkthrough at the beginning, sometimes I do it at the end. Again, it depends on what feels right at the time. I'm taking all my cues from the person who I'm talking to. That one we did our listing walkthrough at the end. Sometimes I'll do it at the beginning. Sometimes if it's the first time, I might say, hey, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to walk through the house with the eyes of a buyer. Now this is a Ben Kinney script and it works. I usually have a Form 17 with me. So this is a seller's disclosure. This is going to have to be filled out no matter who you list this with. So why don't I go ahead and I'm going to have you sit down at the table. If you want to fill that out, can I just take a really quick look around? And I want to like see it as from the eyes of a buyer without knowing all the cool stuff you've done to it. And then later we can walk back through and I want you to tell me what's important to you. So I walk through the house. I don't care about the house. I don't care about the house at all. Could care less what they've done to it. I'm looking for what it is that I have in common with them. Okay, well, they went to UW, I have nothing there. They ride horses, I don't have anything there. I just keep looking until I find something. Oh, it looks like they have a whole small children's room. These guys are in their 60s. These must be grandkids. I have grandkids. They must love their grandkids. They have a whole room for their grandkids. But I do know they love horses. So at least I picked that up. I may not be able to talk about horses, but I've got it in my toolbox. I may not be able to talk a whole lot about UW sports, but if something comes up, UW versus Wazoo, I know which side to be on. So I'm going to look for all the clues I can find in the house, just on a walkthrough, don't dig through the drawers, that I can find to kind of establish rapport. Again, it's all about them. I want to make sure I'm focusing on them. So when you go through the house, we went through the house at the end, and it was all about, they told us what was going to stay, what was going to go, how could they do this. We solved problems at the end. They have an entire room, so they have a split level house, and in the downstairs rec room, it's an entire table full of where they make their little mixtures. And so they have this whole table of this, and it's a big workspace. And we said, you know what? That can be out for the showings. We'll just take it and have you guys move it over to the garage just for the day we have photos. Really? Well, yeah, you guys still need to continue your business while it's on the market, don't you? Oh my gosh, yes, we weren't sure how we were going to do that. Either one of those first 2 agents could have totally landed that listing, but they didn't come up with the solutions to get them past it. Again, all you're doing is you're building trust and using tools. That's it. This is a simple job. Super simple. You listen, they tell you the problem, you solve the problem. That's how simple it is. Did we take a listing agreement with this?
Yeah,
Wait,
they signed it.
not at the.
No, not there.
Wait, hold on. So we walked out of there without a listing agreement signed?
Right, yeah.
And did we think we had the listing?
Well, I thought so, yeah.
Because they shook our hand. By the time we were done, we knew we had the listing. We didn't have to press them. Just sign right here. I can get started on it today. What's it going to do to get your signature right here today, folks?
Sound like a fair.
Right? You don't need to do that. You either won their trust or you didn't. And if you've got their trust and you've given and they know that your toolbox is bigger than their toolbox, you've got it. So he just came back and he just did the paperwork because it's a necessary evil at that point. You just have to get it done. But it wasn't to clinch the listing. We clinched the listing before we walked out of the driveway. And so every single listing that happens is pretty much the same. Anybody who's taken a listing, you may not have walked in over Ouija board, but basically the whole process is the same. You listen to what the problems were. James has a listing coming up that is a continual amount of problems. But he just keeps going back and listening and letting him know what tools there are, and he's already developed the trust. And so now he's just kind of got to get him to move some furniture around, and he'll be good. But yeah, so any questions?
Make it sound so easy.
It is easy.
It's simple.
It's simple,
but
not
it's
easy.
hard.
Yeah, it's simple. It takes work, but it's simple. Now, when things that might be in your toolbox, I have emptied out a hoard. Brought 2 guys with me, our landscaper who's buying my house. Him and one of his friends came with me and Tony, and we packed up an entire hoard. Real estate is simple, not easy. We have visited a listing the entire summer, every week, as a hoarder girl refused to move. Her husband had already taken an entire full hoard back to Michigan and left his wife there because she still had to sort some things. So every week for the entire summer, we went out and stopped to make sure she was still alive. And she's sitting in this house sorting papers and sorting boxes. And I know none of it's going because he's already moved everything. She has a Toyota Yaris, and that's all that's moving. Finally, at the end of the summer, I finally got the husband. I said, we gotta do something, dude. And he sent the mom out to get her, who forced her out of the house, and then we had to empty the hoard. There wasn't that much of a hoard left. It was like, most of it was in Michigan. What's the hardest one you've done?
We've done 10 boards, haven't we? Yeah, we
Oh
do
my
a lot
gosh.
of furniture, and in that case, if you want to get everything else, we come in and stage it. That's kind of the best approach there.
Yeah, and the summer house, we staged that one.
We had one where they moved a bunch of stuff, and they found a bulldozer behind the pile of stuff. Right, Vicki?
It's still there.
Bulldozer's still there. But we did move the boat and all the tires and barrels.
I had a giveaway sale up at Cushman. Nice stuff too. But the owner at the end is like, I can't make another trip up there. Look, we're moving to California. Last thing we need is to step out of our vacation house. Can you just get rid of it? Well, this is a lot easier than a hoard. That was just a whole bunch of pictures and free. Come get it. And we just stood there, but it took our time. We had to stand there and get everything out of the house. So, but we had to know what is it that's stopping them from selling their house. It's not always as easy as pressure washing a driveway. And you've got to be willing to do the hard work. Because I will tell you, in those 28 listings I had last year, I would say 14 of them were probably hard. Listings come with issues. Sometimes I
Every one of
think, huh?
Every one of them.
Every one of them. Like, I look at other agents and I think, they always list pretty homes. Do they never have problems? But yeah, they have problems. Like, people get divorced in the middle of signing listing agreements. Who knows? Crazy stuff happens. So real estate is simple, not easy. This is the simplest part.
The hardest part is figuring out what they need.
Yeah.
And help them work through that.
Yeah, know what tools you can bring to the table. What tools can you bring to the table? Do you guys have a list of who your preferred vendors are?
We do.
Because when they say, well, but before we sell this, we're going to have to fix the plumbing upstairs and fix the plumbing downstairs, and we don't even have a plumber. You know what I do? Who do you bring to the table? You need to have trusted people who will jump. We have a plumber who will crawl under and replace drainage in the middle of a Saturday night if I need it. Like, you treat your people well, your vendors, you treat them well, and they will be there for you. Our landscaper does everything. He lays down fabric underneath houses, he cleans out hoards. Sometimes I let him spread some ground bark. He's pretty excited about those ones. But usually we don't tell him a lot. We just tell him where to go. And when it's one of those, he knows he's walking into something bad. If I didn't tell him to bring some ground bark, he's like, oh, what has she got me doing? But you've got to have those people. Get your people. If you're with the Great Homes team, you've got people. But if you're not, get your people.
If you're not, just let me know. I can share my vendors with you.
See, look at how sharing he is.
I got them from other agents, so.
Right. All right, any questions? What's the biggest challenge you guys have at a listing appointment?
How many of you have never been on a listing appointment? Raise your hand.
Personally
Yeah.
or shadowed?
Personally.
Oh, so you guys are shadow. So she has your shadow. Okay. Okay, so for those of you who have been on listing appointments, what's your biggest challenge?
My biggest challenge is not overselling yourself and understanding and having them understand what you can bring to the table. You know, I mean, I've got all of those tools, but this last listing, I single-handedly packed out the entire house, cleaned the entire house, because neither of them were in the state.
It happens.
And I told them, I will do that, and it will cost you nothing.
Mm-hmm.
This listing is really good.
So one important thing too is Ben Kinney talks about this. And if you remember how we were seated during that listing appointment, we weren't seated directly across from them.
True.
Because that's confrontational. They were sitting on the couch there, and we were right here. So we're next to them, not across from
Yeah.
them.
We want to be friends.
Yeah, build rapport.
At the beginning of any listing, you're usually on good terms. And maybe not, but beginning of the listing, they think you're the shiz. So you want to start out, you want to be friends. You're there to solve their problems. And so, is there a way you could have avoided the haul out? How many hours did it take you to haul out?
Haul out and clean 20.
20 hours.
Yep.
What's your commission on that one? About 10,000?
Yeah, a little under.
I
Slightly
guess
under.
it's not too bad
No,
hourly.
it was worth it.
Yeah,
It's always worth it though.
that's the
I'm-
thing, guys.
Just knowing that they're taken care of.
Knowing that they're taken care of, and if you want to equate it to dollar amount, how much you're making per dollar, per
Yeah.
hour, we make crazy amounts of money.
Yeah, because
So,
it was only the market for what, 5 days?
4.
yeah.
So.
So if I had to
$14
spend-
those dollar hours,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Yeah.
it's still $100 an hour.
If
Yeah.
I have to spend a day hauling stuff out and
Yeah.
just know that, oh, I hate hauling stuff out, and then I just go do it, I can afford a lot of massages with, to take care of those sore muscles at the end of the day.
Well, and once you get the trust, I mean, literally, I still have to move his car, but I have his keys to his car, I have his guns, I have keys to his storage unit that, you know, that I told him, hey, I need you to get a 20 by 10 storage unit so I can fill it up. And within 30 minutes, he said, here's the code to the gate. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
They,
And this guy's what, he's in the military in a
Yeah.
foreign country?
Yeah, he's
So he
in
can't come do it himself.
yeah, so,
He's stationed somewhere
you know,
else.
he gave me that authority to do that and that trust that, you know, hey, he's going to take care of me.
Mm-hmm. Once they fully trust you, we have one client who decided to call Tony instead of the ambulance. So we
Oh,
took
goody.
the husband to the hospital. We broke that same husband out of the rehab center. And sold his car.
Are we still filming?
And sold his car because his wife said he almost drove us into the Hood Canal. We need to sell the car while he's still in rehab. So we sold the car. Now he was a World War II vet, and so like we love Ralph. We went to his funeral too. But that's the thing is like once they trust you, like they trust you. You're gonna do for them what their own family isn't gonna do for them, and you'll hear that over and over. You know, my family isn't even here helping me, and you guys are. Do you think you might get some referrals off that? There is a reason. So I did the hard work. I've been doing this 4 years. I did the hard work. I cleaned the hordes. I chased squatters out. I sold cars for World War II vets. We did the hard work, and because of that, this past year, those 28 listings, I don't think I went after any of those. We didn't do any listing lead generation. Those all came to us because of our past, only 3 years, past clients and people who had seen what we do. And do you think that like when I'm cleaning out a hoard, I don't put that all over Facebook? Yeah, I put all over Facebook. I don't really want everybody who has a hoard to get a hold of me, but I do want them to know how hard I work for my clients. And people see that and they will recommend you. Like people that you barely know on Facebook all of a sudden will recommend you to a friend because they've seen how hard you work for your clients. And they know that these houses I'm selling are not multi-million-dollar estates, and I'm still working that hard for my clients. Okay, any other challenges?
Are you ready for the homework? So how are you gonna get these listing leads? The best way is every day you should call 3 people, text 3 people, and email 3 people for the next 7 days. There's all the different things you do to generate leads. You can buy leads, you can get fancy websites, but you gotta talk to people every day. So make some habits. What's that?
When you're texting people, when you not random people.
People
just
you
your
know.
friends or,
Yeah.
okay. And
Yeah,
so
people
what
you
do
know,
say?
hey, I'm having an open house this weekend. It's kind of a cool house, you should check it out. Or hey, you know, we've got this $1 million cabin coming up in Cleon. Does anybody know anybody who wants to? It's like, the cabin kind of reminds me of Yellowstone, the show.
Cabin.
It would fit in there, so it's this huge cabin. So, well, for 1.8 million, it's gotta be big, right? It's gotta be massive, so just
Vicky,
take something.
for you have people who like property, right?
Yeah,
So what do we have in Centralia right now?
in Centralia, lots of farmland.
What
No,
do we have?
the open house we were gonna do,
Oh, well, yeah.
2-acre piece, yeah.
So
You can
I've
buy
got
it
some
today.
acreage. I've got some acreage on with a home on it. Do you know of anybody looking for a home with some acreage?
Okay,
Yeah, just simple little things.
okay.
And of all the people you call and text and email, none of them are gonna list with you. But they're gonna know somebody who might list with you. So don't expect them to list with you. You're just gonna get your name out, get your name out, get your name out.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
All right. Who's gonna get a listing by next? Who can commit to me that by next Tuesday on Zoom they can say I had a listing appointment? I'm not asking you to get a listing. Who's gonna commit to
I was gonna say,
one
got
listing
some.
You
appointment?
just gotta get to the front door, that's all you gotta do.
Chris is gonna commit to one listing appointment. Who else? Are you guys in the business to sell houses? I'm not really sure what I'm doing here.
I mean, if you wanna
Who's
make a
gonna-
lot of money, call expired, it's 10 a day.
Who's going to commit to getting a listing appointment? Okay, we've got 2.
Okay.
I've got 5. This isn't just this half of the room. Is there something?
I'm leaving.
I'll work.
You're gonna commit to getting a listing appointment.
I
You can do it.
I've been working.
You've got a sphere. You've got a sphere. Okay? All right. We've just got 2 left because I'm not going to let him get a listing appointment. That's more work for Charlie.
Oh,
Which he likes.
you know how I am. I'll say, yes, I do, and then I don't.
So you've got one that you can do. Out in an hour ago.
Oh,
Sit down with him and have a listing appointment this week.
okay.
Promise.
I promise.
Okay. Monica? Listing appointment?
Yeah, as soon as I get my voice back.
I have a feeling it's coming back. All right, guys. So go get a listing, and we will. And next week, next week we will be on Zoom. And then Thursday, in this room, Tony and I are having a going away party at Thursday at 2:00.
This Thursday or next
This Thursday. Where?
So
Here. Right
after
here.
the potluck.
Right after the potluck, we have it strategic so that it saves on money. Always plan your parties right after potluck.